Hello and welcome. So this time we're gonna be setting up 2D lights uh, and setting up the universal rendering pipeline which supports this. So how we're gonna do that is first you have to go to Window and then you have to go to Package Manager and download and install Universal RP. This is the universal render pipeline that we'll be using and how we'll create our rendering assets. So after you've got that installed, I'm gonna make a new folder here and I'm gonna call it rendering. So there it is, double click it, and inside this folder, we're going to go to create rendering universal render pipeline, and we're gonna click pipeline asset. So after we got that, it'll create two files for us, the graphics pipeline and the render. So we actually don't need this render, we're gonna be using another render. So we're gonna create that right now. We're gonna go to rendering create rendering universal render pipeline 2D renderer. And we'll just call that my 2D renderer. So with these two assets that we have now, we're going to click on the graphics pipeline, this one right here, and we're going to drag the new renderer inside the renderer list and replace the old one. Next, click Edit, go to Project Settings, and then set the render pipeline asset to the one you just created. After that, go into the packages folder and then to Universal RP and then into runtime and materials. Inside materials, you'll find simple lit. Simply drag that over your player character and it'll apply it. When that's done, let's add a light. So you can right click in the hierarchy and click light, 2D, and point light. Let's increase the point light's outer radius to about, say, 7, and you'll see your character has become lit. We can take this simple lit and apply it to the ground background as well. Let's take the point light and attach it to the player character. You can easily add a shadow by clicking a character, let's say character 2, adding a component, typing shadow, and clicking Shadowcaster 2D. You'll have something like this. Make sure the sorting layers are in line with what shadows you want to cast and from what light. You'll want to make sure your light source has a shadow intensity above 0 so that the shadow can be seen. And when that's done, if you move the character around, you can see that the shadows cast depending on the light position. Next, let's create and use a tile map. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to Window, 2D, and click Tile Palette. Let's put it over to the left for convenience. And let's make a new palette. We can just name this anything. I'll just name this something random. I'll click Create, and it'll ask you where you want to store the prefab for this tile map. Let's store it in this folder, the default one. And there it is. You'll see it right there. Next, you'll want to drag your tile map into this area right here in the tile palette. Next, it'll ask you where you want to put the tiles that it'll generate. I'll make a new folder here, same name as the prefab, just for convenience. And I'll put it in here. And I'll start generating my tiles. You should see something like this in your tile palette. So to actually use these tiles, you have to create a grid as well as ground. So you want to right click in your hierarchy, go to 2D object and click tile map. So what you'll have is a grid and a ground. If you do have a background layer, make sure to set it to that. Next, you can just click on whatever tiles you want or multi-select by clicking and dragging. I'll just click the grass and then you can just uh, paint the tiles like so. It's as simple as that. If you want to add colliders to your tiles, if you want your player to collide with things, create a new ground, and when you've done that, uh, you want to draw things that you want the player to collide with. Set the ordinal layer one higher than the ground, or the layer above it in the hierarchy, and when you're done drawing, simply click Add Component and type in Tilemap Collider 2D. Select that and it'll automatically add colliders for the things that you've drawn. So if I were to press play now, you'll see that my character collides with them, like so. That's all for this video. Thank you for your time and I hope you enjoyed. See ya.